episode tonight. Hello, everyone, again, and thanks for joining us here on the Lunatic Sports Podcast, your favorite St. Louis sports podcast. I'm laughing because John decided, because I was giving him a shit over whether or not he was going to count us in, that he hadn't screwed up on the count in quite some time, and just went ahead and started it while I was ranting at him. I don't know if his attempt was to catch my ranting and raving or just to make me look stupid, but either way, he probably succeeded, although making me look stupid, as many of you know, isn't that hard.
I mean, you lean into it. So
I lean into a lot of things. It doesn't mean I'm always actually down for it. That's a shout out to you, Matt Lee. So what I'd like to get into more so is it's been a slow yet interesting week here in St. Louis sports. The Blues look to have maybe found their swagger, and then we were reminded, oh yeah, we are still in a rebuilding season. There's things to come, followed by some interesting developments and non-tenders out of the Cardinals and the opening of the first big signing of free agency in Major League Baseball. It just happened actually today. John, what do you have this fine Sunday evening?
not a lot other than just like score updates and people that are no longer available for the Cardinals to sign. We do have a few other roster moves to break into, but before I get into that, I just want to point out I was originally going to do this as a 10-second yes or no. I guess I can do it as a 10-second yes or no. Right now, Mizzou is in the playoff if the polls stay consistent. Okay. They won last night against Florida. So all they have to do now is beat Arkansas, who has not had a good year.
Define in the playoff.
Isn't it top 12 teams in the official, whichever poll they use for it, which were
That's
ranked
next
above it?
year.
That's next year?
That's
So that
next
started
year.
this year.
Still only
I thought
top four this year, as far
I
as
thought it
I'm
was
aware. Next year,
2023. Like I was just on NCAA's website about it. Maybe I misread it. Oh well, never mind then. That's
no, but
sad.
continue. We're still pushing for a New Year's Six bowl,
We are.
which
I'm
I don't.
looking
I
this
mean,
up
the
now.
last time we could say that was high school. So uh, maybe high school, college. It was right on that borderline. I don't want to hash that one out again, as we talked about how wonderful and terrible that was all at the same time, courtesy of Oklahoma. Speaking of
2023 football view. Oh my
speaking
God, it's
of
FCS. That's what I was reading. That explains it. Please
speaking
continue.
of Mizzou Tiger football, yesterday's win, well, not as convincing as last week's against Tennessee, right? Last week against Tennessee, we had that dominant defensive performance, followed by an offense that really just had their way with the Volunteers. And I think the Volunteers volunteered to get the shit kicked out of them here at Mizzou. So followed that up with kind of a lackluster performance in some ways against Florida. The first half, the defense looked good, but we could not stop the run yesterday. We missed a lot of tackles. But what impressed me at the end of the day is that while playing a sloppy game and not doing our best, we still found a way to come out with the win, which is what good teams do.
Right.
Right. We talked about this before you say it was Adam Wainwright or Chris Carpenter, somebody who used to say 20% of the time you've got,
Yeah.
20 you got 20% of the time you got great stuff. 20% of the time you don't have it. It's what you do the other 60% of the time in the middle. Can you grind it through? Can you find ways to get wins? And can you find ways to make that happen? And
Right.
Mizzou found ways to make it happen yesterday at the end of the game.
One thing I noticed too, if you think about football, something that happens in soccer, it happens in baseball. It happens probably in hockey, although I haven't noticed it as much, is that there's a lot of talk about which team looks like the better team and the team that should have won. You don't really hear that as much in football. Have you noticed that? Like in football, you get props for not being on your best stuff and still getting that win, like way more than you do in other sports.
I agree. I think the biggest reason you hear that so much in football, especially, is there's so many fewer games.
Right.
that you have to find ways to grind out those wins. Whereas,
Right.
especially, in baseball, people will talk about, man, we didn't deserve to win that one, but we'll take it, right?
Right.
Think about soccer, which is still double the games in the regular season for MLS.
Hmm.
And, it's that same feeling. You get into hockey and basketball, and you've got 80 games of plus in both of those seasons. And I
Right.
think that's where that comes from, right? There's less ability for people to like be like, you know what, we need everyone we can, and we need to scrape them together, and if we lose one,
Right.
like, we're in the fire. Whereas I think fans, when you have more games to pick and choose from, are more likely to say, yeah, that was a shitty performance by my team, and we didn't deserve to win that game, or we won,
Right.
or we lost, but we deserved to win. We played like we should have won. Because you have that many more games, there's less of that fighter mentality. I think that do or die
Right.
mentality, at least until like playoff time,
Yeah.
because you
Yeah.
don't
That's
hear
a
that
good
as
point.
much in playoffs.
No. Well, right now I'm not hearing anything in playoffs because none of our teams have, really done much in the playoffs this year.
That was a stab, and that hurt a little to hear. I know it's true, but sometimes the truth hurts.
The truth does hurt. Like, for example, maybe we got our hopes and dreams up that the Cardinals were going to, pull out this great free agency spending spree this offseason, and that has not materialized so far.
So there's some things with that, and let's start first, right? There was four big names that we non-tendered, so essentially we released them. Andrew Kisner, who more or less was our 1B to Contreras' 1A at playing catcher this last
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
You had Juan Yepes, who Pujols believed was going to be DH of the future potential,
And
or at least a hitter.
he was like our playoff hero for like 15 minutes in
Yeah.
2022.
Yeah, I mean, the guy is and showed a lot of promise, but for whatever reason didn't have it wherever it was this year. I mean, he wasn't really called up enough for me to see a big picture of the major league level, but even looking at his minor leagues numbers, he wasn't exactly tearing up the minor leagues.
Yeah, he
Um, and
struggled.
then and then we released Dakota Hudson and Jake Woodford. Both have been good options for us as far as just as a spot starter. The problem is we've relied on them too much to be regular pieces in our rotation, and that's they don't project as long-term major league arms, at least not with what we've seen.
Right.
Outside of maybe, I mean, I could see Hudson being like a number 5 starter on a team, but we don't like. I'm not saying a good team. I
Well,
just said on a team.
fair.
Maybe the Las Vegas Athletics. Um, but I think, there's that piece. Woodford, I think, has more potential than Hudson long term if he figures it out. Um, I'm not saying he's got it figured out, but I think he would be the prospect that I think more teams would be willing to take a flyer on.
Hmm.
The one that confuses me, and I say confuses, is opens up a lot of questions and thoughts and heading into next year, is Kisner.
Right. So before we explain our thoughts, I do want to say, because I think this is one of those phrases that maybe is a little bit confusing for people when the non-tender phrase, like what that roster move means. So um, all players within their first 6 years of eligibility at the major league level, they have to be tendered a contract year over year, basically. And then that's, depending on if the player doesn't like the price, that's what leads to arbitration in the final 3 years. Okay. If the club declines to give an offer for a contract, the player is then what they call non-tendered and released directly into the free agent pool. So all four of these players are now free agents. It frees up 4 spots in our 40-man to make moves. So we had to be releasing someone if we're going to sign new people. Like, we had to release people. But that's what that means. And that's how it's a little bit different from some of the other roster mechanisms. Anyway, Kisner, break it down.
So Kisner had his best career year this year at the plate, looked good. He was a great catcher. Honestly, I thought if we moved on from Kisner, it'd be in the trade market. And I
Yeah.
have to think that after the owners' meetings, that they got a feeling that there wasn't going to be a trade market that was going to develop. Nobody really was going to part with what that
Mhm.
we would have wanted to get to move on from Kisner. And I think it means that the Cardinals are ready to take a big step forward with Ivan Herrera. Ivan Herrera did spend some time up with the club off and on throughout the year. He was our minor league player of the year this year.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, like, and his career stats, in the minor leagues are not terrible. He's got an 823 OPS. And so, but just this year in the minor leagues, he hit 297 with a 951 OPS.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's seeing the ball well. Like,
he's seeing the ball well. I don't know if he's quite as good defensively as Kisner was this last year, but I think he's
oh,
comparable to where Kisner was maybe a year ago. I don't think we're taking like a huge step back
right.
defensively. And,
Right.
and
And we
I,
should be clear that we don't expect him to come up and have a 950 OPS at the major league level, right? Pitching is
Mhm.
better at the major league level.
I'm a Cardinals fan. He better put up 1,000 OPS or no,
Right. Or he's gone. He's a scrub.
or he's absolute
Um,
trash.
right. And I mean, I think the other point that you could make too is with Kisner, I believe this was an arbitration year for him. Yeah, he's definitely been up at
Mhm.
least 3 years. So with him having a career year, the club may not be willing to pay what they know he would get in arbitration. Like that's another potential reason, in addition to Herrera's impact. And Herrera's at the point where he needs major league at bats to continue to improve. He's just stagnant. He's going to start stagnating in the minors. So,
And the other piece is if we end up with a trade partner that for somebody who wants Herrera,
mhm.
I wouldn't necessarily, and if Kisner's still out on the market, I wouldn't forgo that we've re-signed Kisner and potentially
Sure.
still bring him back. Just because we released him and he's a free agent doesn't mean that we can't re-sign him. Now whether or not
Right.
he would want to come back at that point after
Right.
being non-tendered, I'm not sure. But again, if he gets a more favorable contract, it's a lot, and it's a club and team he knows. It's hard to turn that down.
Right. Right.
Speaking of clubs and teams that and taking contracts with them, Aaron Nola, who for many fans is actually the number one guy on their list. I'm I love Aaron Nola, and I love the idea of Aaron Nola as an innings eater, as a guy that can help lead a staff, but not necessarily as that true ace that we need.
Oh no. No, he's like a
And
number
but he was
three guy.
he's going to cost true ace money to get because of his durability and the innings he
Right.
eats up. And he took a discounted price to 170 mil roughly over 7 years. Yeah, I know. Big discounted price, as he just took a contract over 7 years, which is more than I'll probably make, and not more than I probably will. It is more than I'll make in my lifetime. But
Understatement.
yeah, understatement of the century. So again, he took a pay cut to return to the Phillies. There was other offers on the table. He said, "You know what? I'm taking less money because I want to stay with the Phillies. It's the club he's played his whole career with. He loves it there. They love him there, and I get that. The biggest concern was the report that you sent me from Derek Gould. You want to touch on your thoughts there before I just keep ranting?
Yeah, I'd appreciate that because all the things I've typed up are going for you tonight. I like to hear my voice, so I got to talk. I don't know why I like to hear my voice because I actually hate it, but irrelevant. Anyway, Gould said that per his sources, he's pretty well connected in the organization, so I think we can trust him. Uh, that the Cardinals were not one of those teams that made a better offer um, the for Aaron Nola, and in fact, we hadn't even had talks with him for Nola about signing here. Now, there's a couple ways you can take that. Number one, he just really, it was pretty clear that he was going to re-sign with Philly. So why waste your time when you've got a lot of other pitchers that you could potentially be moving on? Or you could take it as Cardinals fans are definitely going to take it that they're not trying to sign people again. And I don't necessarily believe that any more than I believe the first. Um, but yeah, it really sucks to hear that we didn't even attempt to sign him, considering that like we've been so highly linked with him. But
So The way that I read it was that we were in talks with him, but we had not gotten to the point where we extended a contract. So it wasn't that we weren't discussing things, it's that we were not aggressive in our discussions. And I think that's what's most disheartening to me is you would think that knowing how what we need and how many pitchers we need, that you would have this, we would be getting after it, would be in the midst of those conversations, trying to find out what kind of numbers these guys are looking for and trying to get a viable contract offer out there as soon as possible. I do want to add that most major free agents don't sign till after Thanksgiving. To sign
Right.
before Thanksgiving is a rarity if you're a big name free agent. But if you get the right contract offer with an organization you're willing to play for, you're going to take that offer no matter when it comes. And like I said, for me, it seems more to me like Mo's playing his typical Mo game where he's kind of talking with some agents and like, how do you feel about,
Right.
maybe St. Louis? We have a free zoo, which is a huge selling point, but not truly not truly actually getting into the nitty gritty and figuring out what kind of an offer, what kind of numbers we need to send and getting an offer sent. Because, Nola may have waited if he thought there was an offer coming from the Cardinals that maybe was competitive. Even if he didn't accept it, he may have still tried to use that to leverage for a little bit more money out of the Phillies.
Right.
And there's
So,
no telling there.
well, the thing about that is, and I'm reading exactly what was in the tweet that I sent you. The Cardinals never got to the point of making an offer to Nola or meeting with the pitcher, so they never met with him. They were not a team that actively engaged in trying to lure him away from returning to the Phillies, unlike other NL clubs, according to source. So I read that completely differently from you. I don't. I read that as like just they didn't go for it at all. Like actively engaged means like, hey, like we're wanting to talk to you about a price or anything like that, or like, can we like have a conversation? Like they never had that conversation, is how I rate it.
Yeah, I thought I think it was maybe it was a Ken Rosenthal tweet that I saw that the
Mm,
Cardinals were were kind of feel again testing the waters more or less
sure.
with the agent, and then the agent said, he's got other offers, we're out. Like, so
Right.
like they never engaged enough, right? Even
Right.
if they were just feeling the waters, they never actually made an attempt either way.
Right.
It's we're gonna feel the waters, and if you're gonna spend the offseason just feeling the waters, you're never gonna sign a pitcher, you're never gonna sign any big free
Right.
agents.
Well, and the other thing that I think's worth mentioning here is, 170 mil over 7 years is not an insubstantial amount of money. And when you think about the kind of budget that we probably have set, like that 200 mil over 7 years could have been the entire budget we had allotted to acquire these pitchers. And to use it all on one guy would not really make the team that much better. So that's another, I think, point that we should keep in mind that, there is definitely a budget, and we do believe that Bill should spend more than he does, but that they can't all spend it on a single player is what I'm getting. And I have no idea what the budget is. I'm just saying it would shock me if it's much more than 200 million. Like that would just blow my mind.
I think the only way we see us spending significantly more than 200 million is if we got Yamamoto.
I don't even think we're doing that. I don't.
I don't think we're even going to put a realistic offer on the table to Yamamoto, which is in my mind a mistake, to not at least try. Because worst case, right, is he says yes, and okay, we've got to move some salary stuff around in the coming years, but you've got a frontline ace for the next 7-8 years. I mean, he's 25,
Right.
and
Right.
those guys don't come around that often. I guess my question to you now is, who is your number one guy right now? I know who my number one guy is, and it's my number one guy since the World Series ended. But who's your number one guy?
Monty.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
same here.
No, Monty. And apparently, the funny thing is reports are that Monty has already like basically signaled that he's only going to go to one of three teams, and it's
Mhm.
all three of the teams he's played for, all three of which are probably willing to pay him what he's, pretty close to what he's worth. But I mean, he's been there and he likes those places. Like, why would you even bother trying going somewhere new if you know the three places that you like to be are probably willing to pay you. So
One of the three of them he knows will pay him what he's looking for, and he can go to a place he knows and that he's enjoyed playing at.
right,
So why would you risk going to a club and then find out that you hate it there
right,
when you've enjoyed your time with your previous
exactly,
few clubs? So
exactly.
and good for him, because I mean the guy, he's a great dude. Good clubhouse guy, a workhorse. And I think Monty is he's like Aaron Nola, but better, for what
Yeah.
you're getting for the price, right? He's younger, but he still eats innings. He still does a lot of stuff, and I think long term that's going to play better. I think it's making it more and more likely that we're going to see some trades for pitchers. Hearing how we handled the Nola situation, I'm not sure
Well,
what pitchers we're gonna. I say no, right, trade for starting pitchers,
I don't
because we're gonna have
know.
to trade for some relief. We're gonna have to figure out the relief in the
Right.
bullpen somewhere along those lines, and that's still what makes me nervous about Blake Snell. Is we could sign Blake Snell, but we don't have the bullpen to support him on the back end and actually get wins right now.
Right. Well, and I think that's also like we have it's still a very large pitching class, I feel like. Um, and only one of them is moved. Now the Braves are supposedly gonna chase that to Sonny Gray now, which was our other purported main target. So that would really suck. I do really hope that we get Gray. I think he's a reasonably priced option that would be good for us as a middle of the rotation type of guy. But I mean, if all we sign this year in the free agency class are Gray and Snell, and then we find a third good pitcher internally, like someone who's taking a step up, or we trade for someone, like I'm okay with that. But there's not a lot of arms past them that I think are realistically like in our range to get that would be good options for us. But
I got one thing here before we kind of move on, from the Cardinals here, but and I messaged this to you, but I kind of want to hear your thoughts on this. Is uh, Milwaukee
oh
non-tendered
yes,
Brandon Woodruff?
right,
Granted, he's had some injury issues, but when he has been healthy, we're talking a 2.8 to 3.2 ERA, can pitch with the best of them, lights out guy. Um, he may not pitch next year with the injury he had, and I think that's the potential concern there. Is he somebody that you are willing to take a contract on, assuming it's a reasonable contract, knowing that we may not get anything out of him next year? If we do, it'd be for the stretch run. Um, and then looking to the future years, and then if he's reasonably priced, go to sign a guy like a Tyler Glass now, who's only got 1 year left on his deal. And it's not saying it has to be Tyler Glass now, but somebody who can fill in that other rotation spot while we wait to see if Woodruff is healthy. If Woodruff isn't healthy, then you push to re-sign the guy you had for under contract.
right.
If Woodruff is healthy, then you can let that guy walk, and you've already got his replacement in house.
Right. Yeah, Glasnow he's still with the Rays, so we would have to trade for him. But I
Yeah,
do
but
think
he's got 1 year left.
right,
So that's what I'm saying. He
right.
would fill
He's
that year where
obtainable.
Woodruff maybe isn't
Right,
pitching.
right. And Glasnow is definitely obtainable. The Rays are not gonna let him walk on a free agent, as a free agent, and they know they're not gonna pay him. So they're going to get a trade out of him. And I think he's obtainable. As I
Do you know
told
who'd be a
you,
really good trade partner for the Rays? Somebody who has a guy that can play shortstop.
where's Paul DeYoung playing now? Um,
I was thinking more of a Edmund for Glasnow situation,
I'd be okay with that
because
trade.
you probably have to throw in some minor league
That's
prospect
fine.
or two as well. But I think you could get Edmund, especially because Tampa Bay's Wander Franco is not playing with the team right now. And so that opens up an opportunity where they thought they had that position locked down. That may open that door for that trade. I've been thinking
Right.
more and more about this, and really could become a possibility.
So I don't want to get into the Wander Franco situation, but like the way you said that, like he's not playing with the team right now, I don't think he ever plays in Major League Baseball again. Like the accusations are serious and sound like they um hold water. And
Oh no,
yeah,
I
I don't
I I 100% agree, but I've made jokes about this situation in the past, and you very quickly are like, we're moving on. So I was trying
Yes,
to circle around it as eloquently as I could there.
I appreciate that. Yes. Yeah. Joking about it is not cool, but yeah, it is a thing. I will say about Woodruff, so he is 30. Um he actually had, not in terms of volume, but his stats for last year were looking really, really good, way better than his career average. His last 3 years, 3 or 4 years have been pretty good. And then before that, he was okay. Uh, so, I mean, he's an intriguing prospect for us. And, he's probably not going to be that expensive just because of the injury. Uh, and one of the things that you and I talked about is it's not just that we need all of this help now, but it's like, how do we get this help and have it sustainable for like 2, 3, 4 years down the road without selling our entire farm system? And I do think we can probably sell out our farm system a little bit. We have a lot of corner or a lot of in, what am I trying to say?
Corner
Infield players,
infielders,
not corner infielders, the other ones.
middle
Inner
infielders.
middle infielders. That middle was the word I could not think of. I was going to say inner
Yeah,
infielders, and I'm like,
yeah.
that's
Middle's a
that's
hard word to
accurate,
remember because
right?
honestly, like I don't think I learned that till like, I don't know, second quarter of kindergarten. So
Right. Yeah. But you were homeschooled, so kindergarten for you was like eighth grade for everyone else.
first of all, I went to Catholic school for preschool and kindergarten. Then I was
Oh,
homeschooled. So,
gotcha.
but my kindergarten teacher used to make me sit out in the hallway because I distracted the other kids too much. Apparently I talked a lot.
Not surprised. Um, anyway, I think we've hit the big points we had for the Cardinals. You want to move on to the Blues here? Is that a twisted tea?
Yeah,
What is that?
no, it is it's one of the beers from the zoo. It's a light red
Oh
panda
yeah, I've had
lager
that one. That's
from
good.
Urban Chestnut. It's not
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah, I like that.
I got a variety pack of the zoo beers. So
Yeah. Yeah. I'm here for that. I'm here for that.
speaking of our free
Um,
zoo, they have beer.
they
You have to
have
pay for the
beer.
beer though.
Most places make you pay for the beer.
It's worth it.
So anyway, the Blues. So since the last time we talked about the Blues, we've had some good results, we've had some bad results. So immediately after our last recording, we won 5-0 against the Lightning. And we were like, you know what? Are we for real? We might be for real. This could be it. And then we lost 5-1 to the Sharks. And then we lost 5-1 to the Kings. But we won tonight, 3-1 against Anaheim. Which, by the way, I hate the duck foot logo. I really hate that. I wish they'd go back to the hockey sticks with the mask. That was the
Oh
best
yeah.
logo they've
No,
ever had.
those were always a much better, it just across the board. Like
Like
that, I
across
mean
all sports.
the
Yeah.
cartoon, everything they had that rolled with it was, I mean,
Yeah.
top notch. So
Yeah. Um,
I okay, so anyway, so yeah, so 5-0 against the Lightning, lost to the Sharks, lost to the Kings, won against Anaheim tonight. I is our team bipolar?
oh,
Do they
absolutely.
do we just need to get them figure out what that dose of lithium they need is? And by lithium, I mean the right kind of leadership to keep these guys up and stable, right? And at a consistent level.
Yeah, no, and that's kind of the thing, right? You and I have talked about this a couple of times offline, is it's which version of the Blues are we going to get tonight? They're incapable of right now of grinding out close games. I think almost all of their games have been the difference in score has been 2 or 3 at least in almost every game. And I know they won one game by 1 goal. I don't remember which game it was, but other than that, it's either they're blowing teams out or they're getting blown out like every day.
Yeah, early in the season, right? We had a couple of close shootout games, and it looked like we were
Right.
going to grind out some games all year long. And then it very quickly switched to we either score a bunch or we don't. And the loss to me that hurts the most is the 5-1 to the Sharks.
Mm-hmm.
San
Yeah, that was
Jose is
embarrassing.
absolutely atrocious this year. Worst team in the NHL, giving up, I don't know, averaging giving up like 10 goals a game or something stupid. It's not quite that high, but it's close. And go in and just absolutely lay a goose egg and just, I mean, it literally looked like the Sharks just could do whatever they wanted to us. We made them look like one of the best teams in the NHL that night.
Mm-hmm.
But, 2 nights before against the Lightning, we looked like we made the Lightning look like they didn't belong on an NHL ice, right? Like,
Right.
and it's
Right.
just, who are you? It's mind boggling. And I think this up and down, if this doesn't level out, is going to cost Berube his job, which is sucks because the
Well,
guy's a great coach. But I mean, like,
I don't, I
we're
don't,
we're starting to.
I don't know. Okay, he's in a playoff position right now. He's got the first wild card spot. I don't think if you're in playoff contention, like and not only like contending for a spot, but like in the spot, I don't think he loses his job.
So my concern is that it's going to continue to be up and down, up and down, up and down. And even if he doesn't lose it in the season, I could see them cutting ties with him during the offseason because they're looking for a coach that can get the most out of his players night in and night out. When you
Sure.
have a team that has the ability to go in and win these big games like this, and they do win games big, but then to also turn around and lose those other games they should be winning, also losing those big,
Yeah.
it starts to, the fingers start to look at the coaching staff, and are they preparing these guys in the right way? And I'm not saying Berube's doing anything wrong, but that's what happens.
Yeah. I mean,
And
I
I
could
like Berube. I
see
like Chief. I think Chief is great.
right.
So like, I don't want that to come. I hope we don't cut ties with him. I think he's done wonders for this franchise from a coaching perspective. But it's just, it has me concerned.
Right. Well, and I think if they crash out early in the playoffs, like they get in and they like lose embarrassingly in the first round, like I think that's back on the table, right? But I just think like mid-season, like that's not going to happen for sure.
No,
But
I don't think it's mid-season, but I'm
I got
saying
you.
that this up and down stuff could end up costing him his job.
I got you. I got you. So right now they're a playoff team. Do you think they can ride this up and down the whole season and stay in the playoffs?
I'm gonna go back to what I said at the beginning of the season, right? I think my preseason prediction was at 93 points. So we took the 92 and a half. Is that
Mm-hmm.
what the over
Yep.
was? I still think that's right about right. I think it'll be 93, 94 points. And we'll
Sure.
be pushing for that last wild card spot. We may not get it,
Yeah.
but I still think that's a realistic prediction for where this team will end up. And I still don't, my thought on how we're going to finish out the season, where we'll end up the season hasn't changed.
Right.
I've had a couple of moments of doubt watching some of the losses, but then watching the wins, you realize, no, we do have it. It's just whether or not it shows up.
Right. I will say, just as a bet update for everyone who is keeping track of our bets and how they go throughout the year. Right now, they are on track for 91.6 points. So the bet was about the points total, not about if they actually make the playoffs. So it is possible that they make the playoffs, and we're both happy about that. And they take the under, and you owe me beer. So
You know what? If they make the playoffs, I'll be excited just to have playoff hockey.
that's true. I'll share the beer with you. We can watch playoff hockey and drink beer together.
There we go.
There we go.
Here's
Um,
here's a couple of things to highlight, right? Is
sure.
we've had a couple of players that have really started to show up points wise.
Okay.
Kairu's starting to rack up some assists, which is nice to see.
Yeah, but he still has
Um,
a negative plus minus.
that's exactly where's my next point is he's racking up some assists, but I still think he's too much of a liability defensively for what he's
Yeah.
being paid. Getting Buchnevich back has been huge. The
Hmm.
guy is amazing player. I still think is our best player on the ice, and
Yeah.
anytime he's on the ice. And then the guy that, and we highlighted it last time, but our favorite soccer fan, Oscar Sundquist, is still playing well. I think he had another assist or he had a goal tonight.
Hmm.
I don't remember which. I was in and out of the game while getting the kids ready for bed. So, but either way, it's we have we have players who know how to play and can play well. We just have, I feel like, and again, I've said it multiple times, I feel like committing to Kyrou and as much money and as long as we did after giving Robert Thomas his contract was a mistake. I liked the contract to Thomas. I was on the fence with the contract to Kyrou.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, the other thing
If
too.
you had told me we'd signed Kyrou for however many years at 5 million a year, I would have said, yeah, that's great. At 8 mil a year, that's even 6 mil borderline, but like you you can't have a player making $8 million a year that can't play both ways.
No, I 100% agree with you there. And I mean, he is almost like he's only -1 for his plus minus, which is almost net even. But like you can't, we're not playing to be net even. We're
We're
playing to
not
score.
paying you $8 million a year to
Right,
be net even.
right. And he's not even the most negative guy on the team or anything like that. But still, like 8 million a year, like we need you to step up. Now, what is surprising to me is don't look this up. Don't look this up.
Okay.
Who do you think has the highest plus minus on the team?
I was actually getting ready to pull up plus minus and I haven't yet. So you said the
I thought
best plus
when I saw
minus?
you go like this, I was like,
I
you're
wanted
looking
to
it
I
up.
actually I was getting ready to look up who was the lowest on the team because I was curious.
Oh,
Because I haven't looked up who's the lowest.
it's also not who you would expect. We can do that
Um
next.
but the highest plus minus Jake Neighbors.
Oh my God, you're gonna be so embarrassed.
Is it Buchnevich?
No, no. First off, uh, Jake Neighbors is the worst.
Really?
Yeah. Um,
Hmm.
he's -4. The best is actually Justin Falk.
Oh, yeah, that would make sense. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
but
have it pulled up. Number two is
is
one of
Thomas.
the guys you'd expect it to be is Robert Thomas. Three is Buchnevich. Brandon Saad, who's played really well this
Yeah,
year.
yeah,
Torrey
he's having
Krug
a
has
good
played
year.
well. Jakub Verana, Bortuzzo, Kevin Hayes, and Nick Leddy are both up there in positives. Pareko, trying to combine Colton and Pareko at the same time. So I mean, look, we've got some good guys. Torpchenko's had a good year. Sonny, for as great as he's played, is still -1, but he's
Yeah,
been stuck on a line with Kyrou off and on, and that doesn't do you any favors.
right.
I'm actually surprised Neighbors is as low as he is.
Yeah, that was blowing my mind too, because I mean, it seems like every time you're
Same with
looking at
Braden
the
Shin.
yeah, because Shin is just above Neighbors. But every time you're looking at it, you're seeing those guys get involved. But part of the plus minus is the minus, and goals are coming in as well. So I don't know.
That's yeah. And Joel Hofer hasn't played terribly. I know he's gotten a lot of hate. But he's actually had a pretty solid season himself. His save percentage isn't that far behind Bennington's. He had a couple of rough games. Like I think it was his first or second start that he got absolutely lit up, but that was not a Hofer problem. That was a the team in front of him problem.
Right, right. I'm trying to pull that up. So yeah, he's got 4 wins. Benner has 5. Um, his save percentage is 914. I mean, Benner's got a 922. So I mean, no, that's essentially the same.
Yeah, I mean, like we're not losing a lot by playing Hofer in place of Bennington. I think in big games, Bennington's who you want, right?
Oh,
He
absolutely.
does he ever look nervous?
No, but he always looks ready to throw down.
Oh
You
my
know,
God, yeah, which
he always looks ready to fight, and he's not a big guy. Like he does not look like a guy who should be getting in the fights, but
no. What I was trying to see if I could figure out what they had him listed at, but I mean, it's not
he's not a
huge.
big guy.
But again, I think for me that it's encouraging to know that we do have a number two goalie, right? We have the guy Hofer is going to be the guy is going to be able to spot Bennington and not have us completely drop off.
Right. Benner comes in at 6'2" tall, which is taller than I expected, and weighs 162 pounds. So he is
My height,
thin.
about 80 pounds less.
Yes. Yes. I mean, hell, I've got 25 on him. Like,
He's built like he's the size I was when I graduated high school.
yeah, yeah, almost like pound for pound, exactly the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that's amazing. And just
Uh,
imagine you could be in the NHL with that build.
um, yeah, but I suck on skates, so I really couldn't. Although I guess you don't have to be as good at skating to play goalie.
Right. 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 You just gotta just gotta get the glove in front of the puck, man.
Yeah, just don't be intimidated.
Yeah.
Um, so we're didn't have a whole lot else scheduled, I know, but I did have a question for you that I wanted to
Mm,
pose. So this is a fun week for us. Thanksgiving coming up. So
okay.
I wanted to hear if there's three things that you're thankful for this year in St. Louis sports.
I'm so glad you said that because when we first started doing this, I was thinking, oh, we should do like a Thanksgiving episode where it's just like, what are we thankful for this year? And then I completely forgot I had that idea and I forgot that this week was Thanksgiving. So like the fact that you like came up with that, that's really good. Three things I'm thankful for this year. And this is not like a in order thing. This is
Doesn't
just
have to
like,
be in order.
yeah,
No, just
yeah,
just
yeah,
three
yeah,
things that you're thankful. It's like Thanksgiving dinner, right? You're thankful that, you have food. You're thankful that you have a house. You're thankful that my face is prettier than yours. Those kind of things. Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. Words that no one has ever said before, right there at the end. But
Oh, they say them to me every year.
uh, some people just don't want to hurt your feelings, Tyler.
No, I mean, they're saying their face is prettier than mine. They tell me every year, right?
Oh,
They're
I thought
thankful
you were
that their
saying that
face is
like
prettier than mine.
right. I got you. I got you. Okay. Number one, Adam Wainwright got the 200 wins. Um,
Mhm.
there's that for sure. Obviously, number two, also on the list, St. Louis City, and just the entire season that we had. There's really like I don't need to go in and explain how awesome this year has been from that perspective. And number three would have to be this is where it struggles. This is where it struggles for this year. Um, so it's kind of grouped with number two, but I'm going to make it its own thing. It's not just so number two is how the team St. Louis City played on the field and how the team has embraced the community. But number three is going to be the community itself that has sprung up in support of this team. I know you and I have both met and talked to so many people that are fans of the team, and connected with people that we otherwise wouldn't have known. But also getting to see like that there's so many other content creators out there like doing similar things to us in this space, and that it's such a supportive community. Um, that's number three. I'm really thankful for that because it's Blues fans and Cardinals fans are extremely negative. And when we lost to Kansas City twice in a row, the soccer fans got the same way, a little bit. Uh, but there was a lot more of being thankful for what we had than you see in the other fandoms.
No, I agree. I think to piggyback off what you said, right? I mean, we've talked with how many other content creators already and have had great experiences. Guys like the City Refs, South End supporters, and being able to hop up and take pictures with them at the game just because, hey, we're all doing this content thing together, right? We've got creators on the Blues side, that we're hoping to collaborate with and do
Mm-hmm.
things with as well. And I just think it's so exciting, and it's exciting to see the content creators and the people out there trying to do some of these same things we are. Some of them more successful than us, probably all of them more successful than us. I mean, let's be real, but it's good. I think for me, I have my first two are same, right? Wayno hitting 200 this year and going out with 200 and then not going back out for another game, I think was the right call
Yeah.
to not
Oh,
inflate
I
his
was going to tell
ERA
you.
and
So
make that number look a little prettier.
can I interrupt you real quick before you go to number two and number three?
You don't even care what I'm thankful for, but go ahead.
No, I don't, because you're about to be thankful for this right now. Okay. And it's your friendship with me. And do you want to know why? Because technically
Maybe
speaking, you got to watch the last game Adam Wainwright played in.
that's true. So no, I thought he did one more at bat after that.
I don't think he did. I don't think he did. I'm gonna pull it up on Baseball Reference now that you've said that, but I'm
I thought
very
he
certain that he
batted.
did
I
not.
thought he batted one more time when Yachty was in the stadium, like a day or two later.
In the final game,
Yeah, I
I'll
thought he
be
got an
honest,
at
I didn't
bat in that
actually
final
watch
game.
the final
He got an
game.
at bat in the final game, I think, because Yachty was holding signs up in the booth about it until he got it.
Oh, now that I did not see. Let's find out. Let's take a look at his game sets. I'm gonna be so pissed if you ruin this for me.
Oh, I'm gonna ruin it for you because I love ruining things in your life. It's actually one of my favorite things in life. It's one of the things I'm thankful for. Not
Pitching,
top three. It's
pitching,
probably number four.
pitching,
Is
pitching,
ruining
batting,
things that are
batting,
enjoyable for your life.
batting, batting. What is last five? Where's this last five at? You keep going. Keep going. I'm looking this up.
Uh, so anyway, so Wayno getting to 200, and obviously retiring at Cardinal, I think is great. Definitely up there. St. Louis City, having a team that cares, having a community that cares is amazing. Um, and
Oh
and
no, you're
along
right.
with,
Fuck that.
oh
Oh my
damn,
God. That
Tyler
just
remembers
ruined.
random shit that ruins
Yes.
your day again. It happens a lot on here
Oh,
where you're like, this happened, and I'm like, this actually happened this way. Like the Sonny Gray situation, and you were like, I don't know, and I was like, he started with the Athletics and was traded to the Yankees, then went to the Reds, and you're like, how the fuck do you know that? And I'm like, don't ask me. It was the
to be
same way
fair,
that
that
when
was
my
really
my
random
wife asked
information.
me, you
That
know,
was like really random.
I'm full. So this is a fun tidbit. Tonight at my older son is very into sharks right now at 6 years old. And my wife asked me, how old do you think the oldest shark is? I was like, I don't know. He's like 300 some odd years old. And she's like 400. I'm like, yeah, is he a Greenland shark? And she's like, how the fuck do you know what kind of shark it is? And I'm like, don't ask me how. I just know stupid shit. It's not useful information, but it's up there and it's taking up space, which is probably why I forget the useful shit.
Right. Man, I'm
Um,
so upset. I was like so excited about that. And you should have just let me have that. You should have let me have that.
Sean, I can't let you have anything good in life except for me. You have me.
Done with this. I'm
Uh,
over this tonight. My life is
so to
is
finish off
ruined.
my thankful list that I've been interrupted 18 times on. So Adam Wainwright, I agree. Along with the St. Louis City, the thing that I'm really thankful for is St. Louis. It was a combination of the World Cup and then St. Louis City turning my wife into an avid soccer fan to the point where we are watching soccer every time it's on the TV. And I could not be more thankful for the fact that I have somebody to watch soccer with all the time at home. And then my last one, it's going to sound super cheesy, but I've had a lot of fun with it, is this stupid fucking podcast, even though I have to talk to you all the time. It's been a fun ride already. I know you and I poke fun at each other nonstop, even so far as to giving each other, me giving you shit when you and I do the same thing about how we carry cash on each other, but refusing to admit it till after I tried to make my point that you were wrong, and then I was like, oh yeah, I do the same thing.
Well, really, it was just I was like, what brought it up was going to do a thing that we have to pay cash for. And I was like, I can go pick the stuff up I just don't have cash. So you're gonna have to give me cash. It doesn't matter.
I'm just
I
And to which I proceeded to tell him, like, how do you get cash, right? If you don't have cash, you go to a cash only thing and you're like, well, I just don't go to those places. And I went on this whole tangent just to come around to the fact that I also never have cash on me. The only time I have cash on me is if somebody pays me in cash or if I pull cash out of the ATM because I know I have to go spend cash somewhere in the next like 24 hours.
right. Well, I can't even do that. I don't have a debit card. I do have a bank. I just don't have a debit card. I don't want people to
I
think
just
like I'm like a
I want you
man
to think
child.
that you just don't have a bank. I think it would be
Right.
better if you didn't have a bank and you're just
Right.
like randomly cashing your paychecks and like mailing
Right.
off cash to pay your bills. Like, oh,
Yeah.
gotta mail off the mortgage payment. And you throw a bunch of hundos in there and
Right.
just
Right. And that's why I never have cash because I'm just mailing it out constantly for things. Um,
uh,
God, yeah. The great thing about this podcast, people ask me, they're like, is it a lot of work? And I'm like, well, you know, sometimes, you know, kind of containing and directing Tyler in life can be a lot of work. But
fuck you.
really, we're just recording conversations we're already having. So it's kind of just like living our life in front of a camera.
Yeah, I mean, we've been having these same conversations for 15 years. Um,
I
we just
know.
decided that when we start to like message each other about something, it's save it for the podcast.
Yeah.
uh,
Right.
like the
Stop
Woodruff
talking.
situation, right?
Stop
Where you
talking
were
right
like,
now.
I brought up
Put it
the
on the
Woodruff, and
podcast.
you were like, "Oh yeah," and I was like, "Yeah," because I started to message you about this, and I was like, "This is all I'm messaging because I don't want to say anymore."
Right. Right.
But no, it's been fun. It's been exciting. I have enjoyed it so far,
Me too.
and which means you're not getting rid of me yet. But
Well, it's like we told my father-in-law this weekend. We he asked how it was going, and we're like, well, it hasn't failed yet, but to be fair, it can't fail because our expectations are so low that if it stops, like it wouldn't be failing.
honestly, if we ever got to a point where like we had enough followers, enough people listening, like I think it would be a lot easier to put in the time and effort to actually edit the things out that you say you're going to edit out every episode, and then you just post it
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah. But you see, like now that's like the returning gag, right? Is like, oh yeah, we'll edit that out, in post editing and post video. But like, no, that's just never gonna happen.
It's becoming the do you ever listen to Always Sunny podcast?
I've caught a few.
If you ever listen to it, every now and then they'll like go on this tangent, they'll say something really shitty or really offensive, and
Yeah.
they'll all just be like, cut that, cut that, cut that, cut that. And then Meg, who does their editing, just doesn't
Right.
cut it, and also leaves in them telling her to cut it out.
To cut it out. Yeah. Absolutely.
And so it's
Absolutely.
just become like a running gag with them. Like they'll say
Right.
something offensive and you're just waiting for them to like try to tell her to cut that. And then she's like, yeah, no, I'm not cutting that.
Not gonna do that. Oh
or
yeah, yeah. I'll
or it
definitely
gets
cut
even
that after.
better when like
Wink.
she'll edit it out, but then she cuts them back in as they're still saying cut that, so that that they just said something offensive, but you don't know what it is.
Right. If it's something like really offensive. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
did edit one episode to edit out some offensive language of mine.
I did. And we are still a no bleep podcast. And I technically did not bleep you. I just removed the whole segment that included it. I was like, we're just and, yeah, that was the most I've listened to this podcast, by the way. I have not listened to like any of it after the fact.
Yeah. Well, I listened to it here and there. Some of our podcasts. Again, I know what we said, so like,
Right. I don't need to
right.
listen to it. Lived it.
But I do listen to it, and I'll jump around in there, just listen for audio quality and whatnot. I hate hearing my own voice, and I know you do too, which is probably why it's hard for
Yes.
both of us to listen to it. Uh,
That's why we rely on Sabrina so much.
yeah.
Shout
Sabrina's
out
been a
Sabrina.
godsend. So shout out to you, Sabrina, who has helped us with keeping our posts accurate and are keeping us on our toes. For those of you who don't know, the fact that our episode release posts have become more consistently themed and look nice. We do have somebody
Professional.
who does that for which they are professional.
That's it.
They're done
Yeah.
by a professional, and to have somebody to help us with that has been amazing, and super thankful for that. And I get to see her on Thanksgiving because she's back in the country this week, so that's exciting.
That is exciting. That is
I
exciting.
guess I'm thankful for Jeff too, who keeps putting up with our shit to print
I know.
koozies and
Like
things
every
for
time we
us.
talk to him, we're like, "Oh, hey, can you print this? Can you add this? Can you like do this?" Like,
I mean, so for those of you who don't know, and I know we've hinted at it, we do have some Lunatics gear, and we'll start sporting it on some episodes. And pending what our cost is, we'll try to pass on our cost to you guys. I mean, again, we're not doing this to make money to begin with, but if there's people out there who want gear, we'll try to get enough people to put in an order. But Jeff is printing stuff for us, and he sent us like, "Hey, I have this stuff printed for you." And then I was like, "Oh, cool! I really like that hat that that you did for John. Can you do one for me, but like different?" And he was like, "Sure." And then I think he had it done in what, like 2 hours. I mean, the guy's
yeah,
awesome.
I got both of those messages like
STL.
at the same time. It was like instantaneous in my world because I think I have my phone on like do not disturb, and so I like when I took it off do not disturb, it was like it seemed like it happened like within 5 minutes on my end.
I honestly might be over exaggerating the 2 hour mark, but for those of you who don't know, or those of you who need to screen print things or have stuff made or laser engraved or whatever it might be, stlbbk.com. I believe it's .com. Don't
Yeah.
quote me on that. It was in one of our Facebook posts. I put the link to his website, but does amazing work. So give him a look and give him a shout if you get a chance as well.
And that's not an ad. We are not
That's not
reimbursed
an
for
ad.
this.
We
That is
we're
just
not
we
reimbursed for any
appreciate
of
him
that.
and giving him a
Jeff's just
shout
been
out.
awesome. And if he followed on here, I'd feel more awkward about shouting him out, but I don't think he's actually listened to any of our podcast at all, nor he may not, because it's Jeff, and that's totally fine. But the guy's been awesome, and he's done good work for us. So if you
Smart life
guys need
choice.
work done, he's a affordable option, and he'll print whatever you want. So it's been great. With all that being said, if you like our content and you appreciate us, we would be thankful this Thanksgiving for more followers and for you to share our stuff, give us likes on videos, and try to get our fan base up, as that will make it easier and in the future for more content. I don't know if that was enough shameless sticking things out there, but please, we need your help to keep the podcast. No, we'll keep the podcast going because we enjoy talking shit to each other. But if you want better content, get more people to follow us, and we'll try to get better content. So with all that being said, it's been a fun one. Stan Kroenke, we hate you, and good night, everyone.